rounds tonight. Team Craig. So, Team Miki, Brian Miki, listed as the fourth. Brent Pierce at third. Dean Koyangi at second, and Darren Fenton at lead. The West, and they're curling out of the Royal City Curling Club, New Westminster, BC. The West Craig team. West Craig at skip, Normand Corte at third, Keith Clark at second, and Ron Schmidt at lead. And talking with them before the game, we'll describe them as a Pan-Vancouver Island team. All from the island, all from 4 different clubs. But we should be in for a very entertaining game here. Both teams got to this point mildly the hard way. Team Craig lost the A qualifier early on in the event to McCardle. Team Miki lost the A qualifier early on in the event to Dangerfield. Dangerfield is still in it. He's had the fewest blemishes and is going to be in the 1-2 game tomorrow morning. And the loser of the 1-2 game will drop down and play the winner of this game. So, okay. There you go. So there's my first update. The 1-2 has happened, and Dangerfield will be playing the winner of this event. So that would be their first blip. So more background on the event. Along the way, Team Craig beat Lyle Sieg, Mark Longworth. Lyle Sieg is a world senior men's champion out of the U.S., but is a dual Canadian. And he's done his 2 years and is back able to curl in Canada again. Mark Longworth, known well in the interior here. Multi-titles on his, so these were good teams they were beating. Miki dropped to the B, lost to Team Black, a bunch of local Pentictonites with one Saskatchewan transfer on the team, so apparently they're still rolling, using the home court advantage and waiting for the final. So that's pretty exciting for the local Penticton curling fans, and I'm sure for Team Black. But there was no shortage of top quality curlers in this event. Mr. Craig is a 7-time senior men's champ, 3-time BC mixed champ, has won a BC Masters title. Speaking with him, so he's won just about everything there is. He made the semis 1 time in the BC Open Men's. Most people will know Brian Miki and Brent Pierce from their younger days when they won a Brier and a World Championship. And indeed, Mr. Fenton throwing lead, who was there at the 98 Brier and was also 5th on their World Championship team. So we're at the point in the event. There's no more slouches, no more extra lives. You win, you're into the medals. You lose, you came close. We pick up the action here in the first end. Pretty clean, pretty straightforward. There was that one biter way out west on the left, so the teams have been working that. Watched a lot of the round robin or triple knockout games this week. The rocks were sharpened before the event. A lot of nice curl. Speed has been fantastic. Heard quotes of 16-second draws. So the range is probably 15 to 16 seconds. The curl has a nice hard finish as long as your weight is correct. Most of the curl is when the weight comes off. If you're a couple feet heavy, the break point's that much further, you're probably going to miss your shot. So we see both teams working that left side. Just keeping things close, exchanging rocks. And now we see Wes Craig. They've moved that rock up high enough. He's going to try and hit and roll towards the middle and try and hide behind the center guard he put up at the beginning of the end. So my name's Owen Hayward. I'm a Penticton resident and recently retired curling ice maker. I've played against most of these guys and or made ice for them in their big competitions. So I know most of them well. We'll try to give you some insights along the way here tonight. One note I was given for those who don't know, when the event started, Brian Miki was holding the broom. After about 3 or 4 games, they switched, and Brent carried on. He was throwing last rocks the whole event, but they switched it up, and he began holding the broom and throwing last rocks. And of course, I already mentioned the other note that Blaine Black, Penticton curler, and his rink third, Mr. Muskowie, the father. Many people know Braden Muskowie out of Saskatchewan, so Mr. Muskowie recently moved to Penticton from Saskatchewan. Very quickly picked up by Blaine Black, and he had another local lined up to play with him, but he had family things to do, so he picked up an old buddy, Randy Nelson, out of Kamloops. Randy Nelson, of course, been to the Brier. I believe he's won many, or at least been to many senior Canadian championships, if not won it. And also, I know he's won a multitude of the Canadian police curling championships. Having done the ice at Kamloops for a few years, got to know Randy quite well. That's where I pick up some of these trivial facts on some of the players. So Team Miki, they grounded out. They were the very last team to qualify for the playoffs, but won their first qualifying playoff match to be here tonight. So they hung in there, and with that last roll, now they have a chance to potentially get a deuce. Brent has been drawing well throughout the competition. That is his kind of forte. Looks to be a bit tight on this one. If they can get by, it should be nice. Looks like they're just going to get by. They're going to get called off. They don't want that to curl out the other side, which it does by about a half a rock. So undoubtedly, Mr. Craig's going to try to remove that directly. No run back required. If he's successful, more than likely, Team Miki will try to blank the end. All skips rocks are important, but this is an important one early in the game. Set the tone. Let his team know he's on his game. Looks nice out of his hand. Hasn't started to break yet. There's now breaking. So I would say both teams, obviously, to get this far, they're comfortable with the ice conditions. They're through the rough patches of the early week where the rocks were extremely sharp, and they're a little unfamiliar with the facility. But here we are, 5 days later, and they're all pretty dialed in. Judging by the broom, a little bit of heat here. We're presuming an effort for the blank. Senior men's, now simultaneously over to our right out of your camera view, the women are playing their 2-3 semifinal. They're not using the play page. The men had 18 teams, the women only had 7, so they did a round robin. So they have a very similar game going on. The winner will be happy and the loser will be ending their event. And the winner will play for the championship tomorrow. So there we go. There's the blank. We're underway. I was going to point out it is seniors curling, so it's not 10 ends. It is only 8 ends. And they are old, so they do take a 4th end break. Here we go, end 2. No major mistakes. The first, both teams played it close to the vest. Perhaps we'll see more rocks in the rings this end. Sooner or later, one of them's going to get aggressive, one would think. Nice guard put up. It is not on the center line. It could be ticked. We are playing the 5 free guards, no tick rules. Your standard Canada and world rules for competitive curling. The off-center guard. Mr. Pierce calls to go to the middle. Mr. Fenton hits the broom. Looks a tad heavy. And indeed, back 13 weight. Not back 12. Back 12 would have been better. Anyway, I think that shows you how keen it is. Rocks are gliding. Head ice maker Penticton and manager Chris Jones did a lovely job. Did the prep work for this ice. But he was in the competition, so he stepped aside for the event after prepping and doing the floods. And then Nick Meister was brought up from Langley, BC. And he's the head for this event. So between the two of them, they have done a lovely job. Good reviews from all the curlers I talked to. None of them were blaming the ice for their losses, and they were enjoying the curl and the speed. Mr. Fenton looks like he made a good adjustment, brought his weight down. They need some curl, but it looks like it could be a good one. Craig team came around their own guard, but did come deep. And that's a beauty. Nice little corner freeze. Back quadrant of the 4-foot. Here we go. They're all going to try to stack them up. And talking with the West Craig team, that's Keith Clark, second for the Craig team. And according to Keith Clark, the best second on the island. That's a self-assessment. Keith Clark on Keith Clark. And said with a big grin on his face. So, there you go, Keith. I got it in for you. Came down, a little tap. Craig line 1. Pierce line 2. It's going to be the same path. So this path is going to be grease lightning pretty quick here, and it looks like just a little bit heavy. But Koyangi, it's trying. It looks like it might make contact with his own stone just enough to move it over a bit. But the advantage here is quickly going to Team Craig. They don't have hammer, but they're well in behind that off-center guard. They've got a Pierce rock behind them. Looks like they're trying to freeze on top of their own. It's just the 5th rock down this path, so you barely need to throw it, and they're just gliding lovely. Here's a beautiful shot. That's a beautiful shot. If we were on TSN, they might critique it a little bit for over curling, but Mr. Pierce has got some work to do. Team Miki. A little bit of body language there out of Brent Pierce is to say, well, I guess I have to make the peel. So he ambles out, puts the broom down. Peel is called, peel is made. Craig team now undoubtedly going to try and replace that guard, keep the pressure on, keep Team Miki from having a clear view. So just about the same path, but a little lighter, and maybe a little tighter than some of those draws. So they want to be careful now not to be too heavy and come in. If they come in the rings or come in too close, we'll probably see a run back. Looks like he's got it just right. Going to be what we call a 2 guard. 1 being a high guard, 2 being a middle guard, and 3 being a tight guard. So, rinse and repeat. The guard goes up, the peel gets called. It's a very good setup right now for Team Craig. It kind of looks like, even if they get a clear view, it's going to be more than 1 rock to get both reds out of the 4-foot. Oh, look at that. They didn't go for the peel. They went for the run back. Moved around out of the rings. Craig is 4 in the rings, but only 1 in the 4, fully in the 4-foot now. Just by in the back of the button. So the eventual saver shot might be a freeze at some point down to that Craig rock behind the button. A little wider on this line. Very high rotation. This would be Mr. Cote throwing 3rd rocks. Corte, pardon me, throwing last rocks. The curl takes over. It does come in. They need a little more curl, and they get just enough curl. No port left. Probably some kind of slash. There's the indication. He wants to slash that guard and perhaps remove 2 or 3 reds from the house. Now, in their halcyon days, Brian Miki was, I believe, the 2nd, but I could be wrong. He could have been lead on that World Championship team. He makes great contact. Nothing behind the button now, so all of the Craig's 4 rocks are behind the tee. I'm pretty sure Brent Pierce is a lot happier. So you could get to the button, which Mr. Craig is going to come that way, but you could also get to what is currently shot rock from the left-hand side as we're looking at it. So a lot less pressure for the Pierce team now. There is a volume of rocks in there, but they're not in a great position. And so it looks like we're going to have a score. That much I can't guarantee, but in all probabilities, I don't see a blank coming out of this end at this point. This is a tighter line. It's a very high rotation. It looks a little hot coming in. It is grabbing, and looks can be deceiving. So he takes a much narrower line, but he has a high rotation. Between the rotation and the sweepers are well held. They're by, and he drops that in a lovely spot. He does over curl a bit, so you can probably see a good chunk of that from the hack on the left-hand side. Brian Miki, Brent Pierce looking at things from that side. So is he going to change sides? No. He's going to keep coming the same way. Who knows what the rest of this sheet is like for speed, but this line has been used on just about every rock. So he has to be careful with this one. We know he doesn't want to go deep. He probably doesn't want to bounce off much. But he probably also wants just a little tap. From a defensive point of view, as long as he gets frozen, even if he's not shot, probably the worst he would give up is a 1. A steal of 1. But if he can get a little tap, then a 2 is more of a possibility. Brent's first skip stone on his way. He also is going the tight line. Also the high rotation. He looks a little heavier. Very, very close. He came by even a little tighter. He's got a beauty. He's got the corner. He's got the tap. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he is shot rock. So that's not 100%. Now, very interesting. With the backing, Mr. Craig is forced to go to the other side. Now, they've thrown this in practice, but they have not thrown it during the game. Coming this way. And I would imagine it cannot be quite as keen as the path on the intern that everybody used. So West Creek delivers, he releases, it's on its way. Mr. Fenton thinks it's hot. Oh, it's curling early. It's curling early. They're working hard to get by the guard. They just wick. A game of inches, millimeters. So there it is. It's not an easy shot, but Brent has what he had hoped for. A shot for 2. So he needs straight draw, full 4. And we are back to that keen line. It's taking more ice. So here we go, final rock, N2. This is a big rock. Big difference between starting with a deuce or starting with a single. Starts with a deuce, he'll have the advantage. Starts with a single, not so much. It's on its way, the line looks nice. Doesn't look like he overthrew it. Sweepers are working it. He threw it to his sweepers. It's looking very, very lovely. It's losing momentum. Comes in, just touches the side of his own. Piece of good chunk of the button. There it is. We're fully underway. 2 ends in. Hammer goes to Craig. And the Miki Pierce rink have a 2-0 lead. Now, as I said earlier, Brent Pierce and Brian Miki, their team, they got the absolute last qualifier and did so in an extra end against Mark Longworth. And it was a nail biter. But obviously, they did what they had to do. And that's all that counts. Doesn't matter how you get there, just that you get there. And then, then they won their first qualifying playoff stage game. And that's what got them here. That's what got them here. And I believe they beat Mr. McCardle, who ran right through the A qualifier and then stumbled in the 1-2 game and then stumbled right out of it. So he got cold at the wrong time. So with that 2-point lead, we see the Pierce team, the Miki team, go right into the 4-foot, presuming, more or less knowing the Craig team's not going to do anything about it, and set up corner guards. And that way, the Pierce Miki team is likely to follow with a tight center guard and cover their rock in the 4-foot. So there's a corner guard. It's flaring out. It's quite a wide corner guard. Looks to me like on this sheet anyways, the curling out to the wings is still snapping pretty good. Sometimes in these events by this point, it doesn't curl to the wings as much as it did at the beginning, but that doesn't appear to be the case here. Mr. Fenton's second rock. Working hard. The weight was beautiful. The sweepers can work with it. They get it over, and all important, get a piece of it on that center line. Thus, it is non-tickable. Corner freeze tap called by Wes Craig. Mr. Schmidt, his lead. His second rock now. Looks like a nice rock. Looks like he also didn't overthrow it. A lot of curl on this side. He was practically out on the edge of 12. He was just warping in there. And he had a reasonably significant rotation on that rock. So just early on, it looks like it curls the left-hand side into the middle just a tad more than the right-hand side going to the away end. But it also could be just a different release of the different players. I'm not sure what the call was here, but kind of accidentally perhaps got themselves an extra guard, because I think they might have been trying to come around and freeze, but regardless, the situation is muddled. By knocking their center guard, exposing it a bit, it's probably 90% visible from the hack as far as the full rock. So the Craig team now going to try and promote that onto their own, onto Shot Rock. Looks pretty good. Looks like kind of control weight. And there you go. Shooter rolls on, so there are two in the rings. They are now Shot Rock behind the Miki team, Rock. Brent expressed an interest in staying aggressive. The team indicated let's stay conservative. So they're going to remove third Rock, which belongs to the Craig team. While the Craig team is shot, there's nothing backing it up, and with that blue right in front of it, they're very exposed. So they are shot, but they're not in any kind of dominant position at this time. So I can understand the Miki team as a whole preferring to get rid of the visible Craig Rock. They get a piece. Oh, no, they got just a piece. So that would be a significant error. That's a big error. They chose that shot specifically to minimize the numbers. And got nothing out of that Rock. So now we see, can Team Craig take advantage? So he's gone from a hit to a draw. They're working hard to get by. And the way this is curling, they are so close, and no. The wick. Based on that curl, I'd have to say maybe both sides are just curling equally. And I guess just a pinch tight on the broom. I think the weight was golden, but they couldn't hold it to get it by. So take two on getting rid of this out in the wings Craig Rock, but he definitely wants to roll into the middle now. We're on the first of the thirds Rocks. Brian Miki now. He threw it harder than his teammate, so it's holding its line better. He kept it tight. In it goes. It's a beautiful shot. Nestles in to the middle, looking up at the overhead, which you guys don't have. Those two blues are glued together, but they're on an angle, and that's probably not the greatest situation. It's interesting that Mr. Craig is going to try to run, do a run double with the blues. Whereas in a sense, he's very protected by those two blues. So a bit of a gamble, but he does have that biter at the top. Lovely shot. Doesn't get rid of them all, but moves it away from the middle. Opens up the scoring zone for himself. Now the downside is he has exposed Shot Rock to a freeze. Team Miki can put a freeze in there. He can put pressure on to a steal or a force. I think they'd be happy with either. These tight elimination games, for the most part, don't tend to be runaways. Both teams tend to move Rocks out when they can. Lovely shot by Mr. Miki. And now, boy, things change quickly. Team Pierce Miki, line 3. But Team Craig still has a good setup. They've got two Two reds out front in the middle. One a biter, one right on the center. So plenty of room to hide in behind there. But they're going to try via a hit and roll rather than the draw. They're trying to curl it. It's curling nicely at the very end. They get a little roll. Not totally buried, but a very good effort. Needed a 1 inch more curl. It would have been totally buried and put a lot more pressure on. Looks like Brent Pierce is confident in this line, feels he knows this line. Brian just threw this line. Probably see a fat third of that rock from the hack. If you're cross-eyed, you might say you could see half of it. Rock's on its way. Curls nicely by, not even close. A little roll, a little wider than the last roll. But still there for Mr. Craig, but he's going to switch turns now. He's going to come down the middle with the out turn. Nobody's thrown this line yet, so we'll see what happens. Two beauties. He could do same as Mr. Pierce did and get a skip deuce. So obviously this first one very important. He'd like to really get in there. Get the roll totally undercover would be his goal. It's coming off the line early. Trying to hold it for the roll. He didn't keep curling hard, so that's interesting. Gets just half a rock. How far does he roll? He's rolling. Brian Miki sweeping hard. So now the impact, he ended up taking two of the Miki stones out. So Miki is lying shot, but Mr. Craig is 2 and 3. So it's either remove the back red and lie 2. But no, here we go. Here's the first truly aggressive call of the game. He's going to try to keep the pressure on by drawing around and forcing a difficult one by Mr. Craig. Now, if he doesn't get it right, there may be a possible double for 3 for Mr. Craig. So, oh, something happened. They changed their call. Was the front end influential? The players are not mic'd for this event, so we don't know. But we can glean when he left the other end. It looked like the call was the draw, and now it is the much more conservative and perhaps a little less risky hit and sit. Now he does need to sit. If he rolls out, there'll be a fairly wide open hit for a 2 for Mr. Craig. So it's on its way. It's right on the rock. They can't let it curl much more. He hits just off nose, sits. He is laying 2. Now there's a tap, there's a draw. If one was really feeling it, one might think you could almost do a split for 2. But that's high risk. Oh, he's going to try. Looks like he's looking at the thin double. The thin, long double. for two. Wow. Very conservative called game up to this point, and now it's the thin double. Thin double. He's on his way. He just threw this line. This line curled early and then held its line for quite a bit. Looks like he's gonna. The error is to over curl and get a single. He needs a little roll. Does he need a little roll? He needed a little roll. And that's a steal. Big 3-point lead. Team Miki after 3 ends. Okay. 3 ends in, 5 ends to go. Team Miki 3, Team Craig 0. So, the pressure's on now. Team Craig needs to get on the scoreboard, and they need probably, in a sense, need to get on the scoreboard in this end. And it would be nice if they got a multiple to get back in the game. First rock coming in is a little hot. It's going to be a little deep. Rather than in front of the tee line, it's the back of the 4-foot. And so not an overly useful rock. Team Craig asking for a corner guard. Sweepers are escorts on this one. So they judged it very, very well. Mr. Fenton's second rock. He's coming the other way now. Looks like he's adjusted his weight well. Gonna be top 8. Bite the top 8. Interesting, Mr. Craig going for the double corner guard on the stacked corner guard on the same side rather than horizontal corner guards on both sides. With the amount of titles he's got, I'm not going to question his wisdom. Quite sure he knows what he wants to do. Very light, a little over curl, so he didn't get quite what he had hoped for. But for this moment, there is a lot of protection. Brent Pierce now invites Brian Miki down for a discussion. How do we want to deal with this? So those rocks are tickable because they're not on the center. After their discussion, they've decided to load up the middle. Looks like he's going to try and tap up his 8-foot biter on the center line. This does have a little more heat. Not a crazy amount. It looks like a pretty good shot. They're waiting on the curl now. Could use some more curl. I think they wanted to get the nose there, so they didn't quite, but it's still a pretty good shot. It's offset. There's no real triple. So this will keep Team Craig busy. Defense by numbers by Team Miki. Mr. Clark now showing in a nice one. Ooh, just misses the double on the front two and jams on the back one. But is in the rings. Mr. Pierce going to ignore it. Calls to peel the tighter of the two corner guards. It's on its way. Looks like a very good peel. Going to get half a rock or less. Shooter rolls out. Object rock rolls out. That's 100% on that one. Team Craig, the call is to go around their high corner. Get two in the rings. More than likely, they'll be sitting third and fourth. This isn't curling, so it's possibly even so. With the other two biting the 4-foot, they're going to be sitting 3 and 4. So now Team Pierce is going to have to decide how they deal with this. That guard is so high and that rock curled so much you could see it from the outside, so they're going straight after it. Don't think he's too worried about hanging around. If they were lucky enough to cross the face, I'm sure Brent would recognize that on its way and work it to get a bit of a flop. Looks like it was a little bit tight out of Brian's hand. Yes, it was. So he didn't get by, but he made the professional error on that shot. So he didn't want to miss on the outside. He was tight, so he effectively peeled the corner guard. So nowhere to hide now. Strictly work with what's in the rings. We can see by the broom that Wes Craig is holding, he's anticipating just about 6 feet of curl there. 5.5 anyway. Going to the freeze down on the back of the Miki stones in the 4-foot. A little bit light, but 3 in the rings, not a great spot to end up. You could see Mr. Pierce initially was going to go to the wide one because it's the closest to counting, but the way that rock came in and curled behind its teammate there's an easy double and potentially a triple, depending on how the top red comes off of its brother. Rock's on the way. It is firm. Normal up, maybe even peel weight. Contact made, pretty good. The red comes off and makes contact, so he doesn't get the double or the triple. So things are wide open. Mr. Craig could have 3 rocks in the rings after this ends up, and 1 lonely Miki rock. Here it comes. This is a big shot. If he could get a nice roll on this, there's going to be some pressure on. He's not getting the roll. He's probably not getting the double. Now, the good thing for them is to get the double of rocks 2 and 3. Second rock would probably jam on the Miki team rock. There are other options. We can tell he's concerned about it, though, because he hasn't made a quick decision. Looks to me like Brent is trying to take out third rock and roll in. And once again, lie 1 and 2. One presumes he doesn't want to roll too far. He rolls too far, he'll set up a run double. So it's always dangerous when you throw in these weight shots. If you don't hit the right spot, bad things can happen. It's on its way. Looks to be a boardish, controlish weight. It looks pretty good. They're trying to hold the line. So that tells me they're close. Hits it nicely. And does roll much further than he wanted. It's very flat to its partner, so it doesn't look like there's a blue double. But there's going to be a lot of pressure on Brent Pierce's last rock. So Team Craig, 2 good shots by the skip here, and they could be scoring a multiple. So I believe the call is to hit shot rock and roll over beside third rock. He's tight to his own shot rock. He kind of needs to be. He may get the double. No, he gets exactly what he called. So basically, strategically, it looks at this point like Team Pierce, with the 3-point lead, is willing to give up the deuce. Now, it's also possible he's trying to slash double because the way the biter on the right is, there may not quite the right angle, but it's possible of a triple. The risk on a shot like this is if he is giving up a three. But he errs on the side of caution. He wasn't even going for the slash. Straight hit and sit. So a straight hit and sit for a score of 2 for Team Craig, which I'm sure they'll be very pleased to get at this point, the way the game has panned out so far. So there haven't been a lot of dramatic situations. The two scored by Team Miki via Brent Pierce's 2 lovely draws would be the highlights of the first half. Good, steady, hits the spot he needs to. We've got 2 red. So there we are, folks. We're halfway through this 3-4 page game. And at the end of 4 ends, Team Miki 3, Team Craig 2. So it's still a game, still could go either way. We'll take a little break along with the players. It's only 8 ends, but they are older, so they need that 5-minute break. back. We have 45 seconds left in that 5-minute break. But as you can see, the players are ready. They didn't need that full 5 minutes. They're eager to get on with the back half of this game. So for those of you who've noticed some of the logos on the ice, we are here at the Penticton Curling Club in beautiful Penticton, between the two lakes in the South Okanagan, and the home of the Penticton New Floors Classic. Now that happens in the late fall and is one of, if not the highest purse pro event in a club setting in the country. I think there were 15 of the top 30 teams in the world here last fall. That event has been won by all kinds of top curlers, from Kevin Cooey to Nicholas Adine to Glenn Howard. So if you are a curling fan, think about coming up next fall and seeing some of the best curlers in the world. Now, that being said, this event here, the best of the seniors of BC, you have some of the best senior curlers in the world here, and many fellows who have been at the top of the world in their open event playing days. The men's field littered with world champions, provincial champions, American champions, high school champions, cash bill champions. So not a lot of slouches when you get to these provincial events. So we're well underway here in end 5. Double, we'll call it an off-center guards. Team Craig having trouble biting that center line, but no signs of tick shots from the Miki Pierce rink. Mr. Fenton put up a corner guard on his first. Now he's being asked to come around into the middle. He's a bit light, and he did get out of the broom, but I get a feeling this might not make it by. Just a little bit too light. It grabbed that break point very early. He does tap it, and he does tap it into the rings. It's only a biter, so we'd have to call that a mistake. And it remains to be seen how big that error will cost them. At this point, it doesn't look overly inconvenient, but it's definitely not as cozy.
Was it on the center line? We need a someone have a picture of it.
It was.
I'm gonna pull it up on YouTube.
It was nowhere near the center line.
Yeah.
Are we going ahead?
Just
Are we starting?
yeah, just leave the clock off and
Mild discussion there between Wes Craig and Brent Pierce as to whether that rock should stay or go, but it was not on the center line, so no violation of the rules by tapping it into the 12-foot. Now, Wes Craig and team, they don't have the hammer, but they're going to try and take advantage of that mistake. Draw around everything. Unfortunately, a little bit heavy. A little bit heavy. They'll be a bit disappointed in that. by going deep there, there's a little pressure. It looks to me that Brent's kind of perusing, how do I get rid of this middle? And he decides he's just gonna, it looks like he's gonna do the single peel. His body language and gestures indicated he didn't want to peel the other way or try the double peel because his blue corner would have caught some of these rocks. So instead he just peels the top one. It clears everything. A little more view of the middle now for Team Miki with hammer. Wes Craig now calling fairly aggressively rather than put up another center. I believe the call was to tap his top 12 rock deeper into the house. Whoa. I think he wanted just straight tap, and he's going to get it. For a while there, it looked like it could have done a split. Taps successfully into the full 8. Brent Pierce out very quickly. He indicates he wants to run double on the 2 Craig stones. If he gets it, his shooter is going to roll over and perhaps nudge his corner blue into the rings. So the potential for a really productive shot here. They're tight. He's not doing that. He's going for the straight hit on shot rock. And he gets it. And he rolls in behind his corner. That's a lovely shot. Probably see a quarter of that. Zoom out. There we go, Team Craig. We had some technical difficulties and some filming consultants were involved, but we're back. Team Craig tried the run double, only got 1. So that leaves Team Miki lane 1 wide open on the inner half of the 12-foot, mildly beating the back Craig rock in the 12-foot. So they have an opportunity to lay 2 here. It looks like the call, it could be the tap, it could be the draw through the inner port. It's curious to me why they're doing these taps rather than straight draws, but I'm sitting here, they're out there, so. Strange. He does get a tap. Okay. They are line 2. They're very wide apart. They're both about the same amount above the tee line, so there's no doubles. But the shooter there rolled to angle freeze. So there's a very useful center guard for somebody if there's any mistakes made here. The Craig team trying to hit and roll in underneath that. But they curl a little bit too much. And they roll not completely out, but it does leave Pierce. And now he's going to be able to take advantage of those angled frozen stones. We'll call them angled frozen center guards. So this is a big shot. He can really take control of this end here. And already with a 1-point lead, could start to take control of the game. They definitely got out this time, but this line does curl. It's curling hard already. It's going to be close going by. It's not light. The sweepers haven't been on it. It does get by, but it is going to the back. How far back? It is, oh, it's third rock. So, they do not take advantage. As curling goes, the pendulum swings. Now there's an opportunity for the Craig team to get advantage. He's going to do a double duty shot. He's going to get rid of shot rock and try and roll in behind cover. Now, even if he does, he's going to be deeper than the tee line. But in a sense, that was a big error by Team Miki. They only needed to bite the 8-foot. There was no real cause to be deep on that. So that would go in the books as a missed shot. So we'll have some discussion. Now, has he changed the shot? No, he has changed the shot completely. I wasn't watching close enough to see if it was the front end getting involved in that discussion, or it's usually the way it goes. You choose your shot, you come down, you get ready to shoot, and the front end goes, "Why aren't we drawing?" So they're both valid shots. Almost every shot called is a valid shot. The key is execution. So he really went out wide. He knows how much it warps. So now we'll see how much it warps. He's by the guard by over a foot. And he is 90% hidden, but he is a bit deep. Brent Pierce now looks to be, with that broom, look like a back line weight. Maybe a heavy back line weight. So I think he wants to push shot rock out of the 8-foot at a minimum with a mild roll to the left. And then Mr. Craig is going to have a decision to make, because he could throw that same shot again, and just a little lighter. But he'd be putting a lot of risk into the game if he did that. So we shall see. First things first, where does the Miki team rock end up? It's on its way. He's not heavy, and he's not outside. They're working hard. It looks like they are going to get by. Now, is he going to get across the face? No, he's not. This is pretty much exactly what he called. He knocks it out of the 8-foot, which is all he needed. He's lane 2. They're both wide open. They're both in the outer part of the 8-foot. But there's, I just have a feeling, he is going to do what I thought. He's going to throw the same draw he just threw. He's probably going to be 2 feet lighter. He took a little less ice. So knowing he's throwing lighter, it could be pretty exciting on how close he gets to that center guard. He needs to get by that center guard. He needs to bury this rock. This is a very aggressive call, but if it's made, it'll be a beauty. He's definitely lighter. It's curling earlier. It is going to be tighter to the guard. It's coming in nicely. It's curling hard. Yes, instead of a foot, this time they come by 4 inches. He ends up at the same depth, but he is shot, and he's beyond buried. If there were not other rocks, if it was a single center, he would have come out almost completely the other side. So An aggressive call, but a successful call. He has forced Brent Pierce into a draw for a single, and he needs a good piece of the forefoot. Lovely rock by Wes Craig. He'd thrown the draw on his first rock. He made the correct adjustments and put the pressure back on Team Miki. Final rock of this end on its way. He's out much wider. He's also thrown it much lighter. A lot of rotation. So they're gliding well. Sweepers are on it now. Well controlled, well judged, well thrown. There it is, bites the button. But a phenomenal shot by Wes Craig forces the single and keeps them in the game. That was a big force. That was a big shot. Not unexpected, as I did list the double-digit significant titles that Wes Craig has won over the years, provincially and nationally. So there we go, 2-point game. Hammer goes back to Team Craig. 3 ends. They have hammer. It's the even ends. A lot of people put importance on that. So they're down 2, but they have 2 hammers to Team Miki's 1 hammer. Asterisk in theory. That's provided it goes according to form, which, as we all know in the curling world, not every end goes to form. Pierce has the 2-point lead. Pierce Miki. So the call is top 4. We can anticipate corner guards going up by the Craig team. Mr. Fenton throws another good one. A rock deep, but pretty good. Here comes the corner guard. Thrown by lead Ron Schmidt. Looks so the walk with a little bit of pantomiming by the front end. They didn't even escort it the whole way. They knew that was heavy. And I'm going to have to call a spade a spade. That's a mistake. At this point, the Craig team chasing, they have hammer. They need places to hide. So that was an important guard. Right. Here comes my camera crew. They tried to turn me into a camera operator commentator. They'll never make that mistake again. That was filming technician Chris Jones, also known as the head ice maker and manager of the Penticton Curling Club. I do get wrapped up in the commentary and the events of the game. And before this evening, I've never operated a camera in my life. So please be forgiving. Okay, back to the action. So the Miki team has 2 in the rings. Ron Schmidt put up a good corner on the other side. So we've seen this this play before. Brent and Team Miki gonna go defense by volume The more you got in there and the more they're around the scoring areas, the more the Craig team has to do to get them out to score. Mr. Clark now being asked to curl in. Probably want to be around the tee line and around their own corner guard. Sure curls nicely out to the wings. A lovely shot. A little bit heavy. Stops just in time to bite the back 12, so they're not going to kick him off the team for that one. Very quickly, Brent Pierce says, let's peel this guard. So very similar to the fourth end, I believe. Very similar house where there was rocks in the rings and nowhere to hide. But in the end, Team Craig did get a deuce in that fourth end. So now we're going to get into freezes. Freezes and then granite removal by Team Miki. This looks a little hot. Probably going to get a bounce they don't really want. Line was good. There's the little bounce. That's wide open. We're going to see some heat out of Brian Miki. The indication is to try and pick it out, but even if they overcurled a bit, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mind removing that blue rock off the button, so there's less backing for Team Craig to work with. It's on its way. Looks to be a normal weight, not quite peel. Looks like they're going to get what they want, which is just to pick it right out of there. Oh, no, he does clip that back one, moves it away from the button. It's now biting the back four. Now, there's a nice little pocket to freeze into for Team Craig. So this becomes a very critical shot. If they can freeze into that pocket there without tapping, they're going to have a good shot at a deuce. A little wider out. They need the curl. The weight is nice. He won't be tapping. Sweeper's finishing it now. And a lovely corner freeze. Didn't quite get to center. So it looks to me like they're going to whack that. They're going to whack it hard. Now, Brent has called for nose, but if it doesn't curl enough and hits the side, it might not leave the rings. It might. But it'll probably drift away from the forefoot. Now, if he does get the nose, then it's locked on the other one, so then Team Miki stone will be locked right on top of the Craig team stone. He did bring his weight down here. Look more like a control weight. He's not going to get quite to nose, so he pops it out in the open, and it is shot for Team Craig. But once again, Team Craig managed to deuce before. Similar situation. Looks like it's a freeze tap. Freeze tap. This was being called for. Much tighter line, so it looks like a straight tap being called for. Probably tap. Second shot out. It doesn't look like they have the curl right now. There it goes. It's coming in. It needs to curl more. Needs to curl more. And at the last bit, it curls just enough for a beautiful shot. Now, Team Craig, line 2, backing on second rock. Making life difficult for Team Miki. Definitely keeping themselves in this game. Still a good opportunity for 2. Brent Pierce going to throw some heat. Going to try and get about 2/3 of that rock for a slash double. It's a big shot for Team Miki. A lot could go wrong here. He does not want to get to nose. He does not want to cross the face. So his line here is critical. It's on its way. It is peel weight. Initial call was off by Brian. And there you go. He was wide. It ran straight. All of a sudden, Team Craig, with the biter in the back 12, can lay 4. Well, folks. We did indicate that Team Craig is still in the game going into this end, having beautiful final rock by Wes Craig in the 5th, forced the single. Now there's going to be some pressure on the Team Miki final rock, presuming Mr. Craig makes this open hit. Looks to be control, more than board. His line looks good. They're holding the line. And there it is. What is the selection of the day? It looks to me like a double would be the optimal shot out of these. Interesting shot selection here. I'm not positive, but I think he might be trying the same shot he tried last time. Or he could be trying just to hit and roll in front of shot rock. He gets the double. So, interesting strategy, but understandable. Accepting the situation for what it is, makes the double open draw for 3 to take the lead here in the 6th end. Draw is on its way. He didn't throw it heavy. It looks like it's there easily, but the sweepers are making sure. Lovely draw. It's going to come to rest right on the tee line. 3 for Wes Craig in the 6th end for a 1-point lead. 2 ends to go here at the 3-4 page clay game of the BC Senior Men's Curling Championships. Biggest lead has been 2 points. Pardon me, 3 points. Twice Team Miki has had 2-point leads. Once they've had a 3-point lead, and now, with 2 ends to go, Team Craig scores the 3 and has a 1-point lead. Lovely center put up by Team Craig. Ron Schmidt. Mr. Fenton now putting up a nice corner for Team Pierce. The call by Team Craig is to go around and in. You can see the strategy is a little different than what we see on TV, where they might have put up a second center guard. I guess this is just essentially the same with 5 free guards. Now that he's gotten around successfully, his next one could be a high center for the same net effect. Doing it Wes Craig's way, you don't give as much opportunity for your opposition to decide to go around your center. Mr. Fenton now has to draw around his own corner. My second shot covered in the rings, and he throws a beauty. Absolute beauty. From the hack, that's perfectly buried. And there it is, the anticipated high center by Team Craig. And that'll be the 5th rock of the end. And then we'll see Granite starting to move. Granite being impacted by Granite. This looks pretty good. Might be a little tighter than they wanted. Hopefully it doesn't come down and freeze on that thing, but it looks like it might. Stops in time. A good 4 feet in between those. Well, 3.5. But here we go. It's peel time. Probably double peel attempt here. It's not thrown overly hard. I think there's a bit of an indication that he wants to keep this rock in play. Rolling over towards his own corner. And he rolls over across the top of it, but he gets the single peel. Interesting. Mr. Craig is not going to put up another center. He's going to, he wants to, could be a triple duty shot. Because at first he indicated he wanted to go after second shot rock. I think what he's called is we're either getting second shot rock or we're getting the guard and we get to roll into the rings. It's very close to all those. He does come off the guard. He does come into the house. He taps shot rock back to the button. However, the shot rock is fully open, and there is now a double on the 2 Craig rocks. So, sort of goes without saying, but my job is to commentate. Almost every rock is important now in this game. So this is a big opportunity to get a double and sit 2. Looks like it's curling too much. So they're just going to get the roll inside. So Team Pierce is second and third. Team Craig lying shot rock. Wes Craig indicates he wants to get rid of third shot. He wants to roll in behind his own to give it some backing, as we can presume. Team Miki is going to run the center red guard onto their blue in the 8-foot onto shot rock on the button. So it'd be nice to have a catcher to make the Miki team's shot more difficult. They don't get enough curl. They do get rid of third rock. It doesn't curl like they had hoped. So he doesn't roll into a backing situation. Indeed, he leaves a tempting double. Brent Pierce indicates that's the shot. If he gets this, he'll be lying 2 with 1 behind the center and 1 very near the center, edge to edge as it were. Brian Miki, shots on the way. He did not get outside. There's curl on this line. He does remove the rock, but he does miss the double. Just a little tight on the broom. One or 2 degrees on the 360-degree scale. Guard is called for by Wes Craig. Is thrown by Normand Corte. Guards are offset. So Pierce calls for the double peel and gets it. Once again, Brian Miki, he was not outside that broom. He was on the inner edge of it, but it held the line just enough to get the double peel. That tells me the center guard's going back up. Wes Craig is going to do his best to minimize the opportunity for Team Miki to raise their own onto his shot rock. Not a lot of room for error anymore here, folks. 7th end of 8. 3-4 page playoff. You win. You get a crack at getting to the finals. You lose, and you're part of the spectator pool. So, tight lines here in the 3-4 page playoff 2024 BC Senior Men's, live from the Penticton Curling Club. Ooh, interesting. I'm pretty sure he wasn't intending that, but he went deeper, and he got a lovely corner freeze on second shot rock. So that makes this a dicey shot for Brent Pierce of Team Miki. It looks to me like he wants to remove the red that's corner frozen on his top one, but have his shooter stay in the rings. And if it rolls over enough, it might give him a slash or an in-off. So from Wes Craig's perspective, at least the angle of his corner freeze is good for his purposes. If it had curled a half a rock more, there would have been some drag effect, and his shot rock would have been in jeopardy. Brent Pierce's shot's on the way. It's curling more than he wanted early. So he's going to be removing his own rock. Pretty sure that is what happens. He doesn't remove it completely, but it's fourth of four. Team Miki lying second. Timeout. Team Craig. So there we go. You could paint a picture of that. A classic curling club pose. Two men looking at the house and pondering. What is the best way to handle this situation? Ooh, front end involved. That's always dangerous. Front end's got a ton of suggestions. Actually, I'm incorrect. That's the third who's gone down. So it's so rather than looks to me like the thoughts are from the Craig team that stealing isn't as important as forcing. Now, it looks to be a more difficult shot to set up the force, but the force brings him home with hammer tied. And after all that, it looks like he might be going to the guard. There seems to be less risk of damage on the guard. Have a look at the overhead, and I guess I can see why, because there are no in-offs, but there is a blue corner that could be raised in. And as the rocks stand now, if it had nutted that shot rock, blue could get two. Blue being Team Miki. He's on his way. He's throwing the center guard. He's very light. He does not want to overthrow this one. Now, will it curl enough? Will it curl enough? It's curling hard. He's got a lovely looking shot. He's got it right into position. So there's the shot. Brent Pierce saw it. He already planned on it. It's a run in to shot rock, trying to dead nut it and score two. Now, if he misses, as long as he doesn't touch his second rock at the top of the 8-foot, then they'll be coming home with hammer down two. So this game's going to come down to the wire, which is not that surprising. It's on his way. He doesn't throw crazy heat. He wants to be able to control this rock. It's close. It needs to curl. He's out. It's not curling. This could be damage. Oh. So, steal one, Team Craig at the end of 7. Score, Team Craig 6, Team Miki 4. So here we go. the white knuckle end, the eighth end, the potential final end. Team Mickey Pierce needs to create a deuce at a minimum to go to an extra end. A 3 would get them the win. So the way this game went, there was no real domination, but Team Mickey was basically in control the first half of this game. The second half has been a different story. The second half has been controlled by the Craig team, and specifically, I don't think Wes Craig has really missed a shot here in the second. He might have sort of missed one, but he made up for it with a beautiful draw around to force the Mickey team in the fifth end. So you have to give credit where credit is due, and you would have to say that in the second half, the Craig team has played well, made what they needed to when they needed to, and put the pressure on Team Mickey, and particularly the last rocks of Brent Pierce. Once again, the eventual winner tomorrow morning will be playing Team Dangerfield. And the winner of that game will go to the final tomorrow against Team Black from Penticton. Two corners are up. Off center guard is up. Craig Rotz sits shot. Full 4. To the left of center as we view from the home end. Team Craig now doing their best. Clog up that middle. This is the fifth rock. So shortly we're going to see Granite moving. Now, does he go to, yes. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Even though he has the corners, even though there's a double center, Team Pierce is called for the corner freeze on shot rock. Pretty aggressive. You sure don't want to miss it. It kind of looks hot. It is hot. They could do a plan B here. They're going to do a plan B here. They're going to wick off their own corner guard, so it goes into the rings. And they roll under the double center, which I don't. If it had rolled a foot further, it might have been an advantage. But, oh my goodness. It's getting exciting. It's getting white knuckle time. West Craig team now going to hit that tapped up rock. They'll be removing any Team Mickey rock that they can see. They get a hit. They get a roll. Oh, it rolled into There, it rolled into a port where there would be a potential double. But I think Mr. Pierce is going to leave that for later. He's going to try that freeze again. Now his second just through this, so hopefully he makes the adjustments. That's Dean Koyangi. He's not light again. He's a lot tighter. His weight is better. It's curling and it's coming down. It looks like he's going to bounce off of their own, but that nudges it. It's getting cluttered. It's getting cluttered. Took away the port. Took away the port to the second shot rock. We're going to need some good shots out of the Miki back end here for them to have any hope of winning. Right now, advantage is clearly with Team Craig. Oh my goodness. We got a double Team Craig center. Ooh. The strategy now, the ethos seems to be in for a penny, in for a pound. He's not removing the granite. He's going to try for a third time to corner free shot rock. This looks nice. It's out a little wider. The weight looks good. It's going to hit its tipping point now. It is just a tad heavy. And a tad out. It's coming in. It's probably going to be, no, it's not going to be shot. It's second shot. But it's at the back. Team Craig sitting nice. He can see all of this. He wants it out of the rings. He wants his shooter to spill. A little wobble coming out of the hack by his third. He's a little tight, but it's got enough oomph. It's not breaking hard. He's got the piece he wanted, a lovely shot. Okay. Here we go. The fourth attempt on the corner freeze. He's a little tighter on his line. And I would say just a tad tighter on his weight. So they need to be careful because when these crank, they can crank. And I heard it from the fans. He's a little hot, and he is. And still second shot, a foot heavy. Watching his indications, it looks like he's thinking about putting up a guard. But whatever is left here for Team Pierce to score two, it's going to have to be two absolutely beautiful shots. The setup of the rocks in front of the house and in the house is not to the Miki team's favor at this point. Ooh, looks like he's going to try and remove the Miki rock in the back four. The line looks good. He's neither out too far or too tight. Waiting for the curl. Need the curl. Looks like they're getting the curl. Not quite enough. Timeout, Team Miki. So, the shot appears to be, for the 5th time in a row, the corner freeze on Shot Rock. It'd be nice to tap it a little, but you can't tap it too much and bounce off. So as I predicted, which was pretty easy to see, 2 absolute precise shots are needed by Mr. Pierce. Now, even if he makes this, unless he taps it far enough to lie 2, there's going to be a big question on how he's going to get 2 if he isn't lying 2 after this shot. Because one's going to presume that Wes Craig will close access to the button. His line is good, airing towards tight. Weight looks a little hot. The weight does look a little hot. It's curling. It's breaking earlier. He's coming in. Weight's coming down. Looks to me like he's going to be frozen or on his own. So he is temporarily shot and 3rd. But if Wes Craig makes this shot, which is going to try and double them out, I don't see myself anyway for Team Miki to get 2. And even if he crosses the face or gets to the nose, once again, a 2 would be very, very difficult. So, he didn't get outside the broom. He's definitely on the one, and they're holding it well. It looks like he's got them both. And he does. And Brent Pierce looking for a way. Brian Miki indicates there's no shot. It is handshakes. Very tight game. Went both ways. As I stated earlier, the Craig team were the hotter team in the back half of this game. So there it is, folks. The 3-4 page playoff game, 2024 Girl BC Senior Men's Championships. Team Craig will play Team Dangerfield tomorrow morning for the right to go to the final and take on Team Black. So it's an island showdown tomorrow here in the South Okanagan. I'm Owen Hayward. It's been my pleasure bringing you commentary for tonight's game. Have a good evening and good curling to all.